Hello, Tyler Bryden here. I hope everything is going well. Well, I'm doing a little bit of a record session here today. That's obvious. I'm recording here right now. If you're watching, if you're listening, all that good stuff. And instead of going deeper into one specific topic today, I wanted to just flow through a couple other things. I got some Descript software editing tools here and really want to turn this into something valuable. So we'll use that tool to do that. I do have a couple things that I think are interesting here right now that are worthwhile checking out. One of the things that I've been spending some time looking at here is this Suno platform. And what's really interesting, background on Suno, I actually don't have too much of a background on Suno. Let's check it out before I just make it. Let's go with Crunchbase here. Let's check out where they're at. I know some people are suing them, so that's one thing to consider here. But Series B company, private, traffic really growing on here, founded 2022, so very quick growth of this company. And basically it looks, I'm not sure exactly how this did it, but they've scraped a ton of the top charting music across the world. I'm not sure if they use the Spotify API or how they did it and have all the meta details of that music and everything. But what they've enabled you to do is really just like create music automatically in seconds through just a prompt. And so I've created a bunch of those. There's a little explore mechanism on that here. Now there's a library, there's songs that I've created. I've had a lot of fun creating these for family and even done some moments where I've shared it with the family and like we literally have cried together. Like it's a really crazy, beautiful thing. I made songs for my sister's newborn son, all these incredible things. And there's been this big announcement with Timbaland here where he's now creating music and he talks about the joy of Suno and the almost like moment of FL Studio when that first released and like how easy it became, how magical and simple it became to create music. Really like incredible tool. I encourage you to check it out. And I've got basically a couple notes here. First of all, 200 character prompt that you can create. I think what we're seeing right now here has been the creation of very in-depth prompts that are pretty detailed, long, and as well as context and knowledge bases and all this stuff. Right now, Suno is really creating or limiting that sort of prompting length here. So I think this is something I'd love to see change, and we'll see some really dramatic creation of music using that mechanism. And the other pieces that I see here are a lot more control mechanisms over the BPM, the qualities of the music. So you'll have the prompt, and just like you have dealing with the large language model, you can set the temperature and all these sort of characteristics. You will be able to control that much more granularly along with the prompt. You can create a song here. I have actually a subscription here, and so that also allows me to use it for basically commercial application. I can release this in marketing of the company Speak AI or really whatever I want. And so I think what we're also going to see is a lot of custom created music for companies who are actually advertising. And the other piece that I thought was really interesting, let me see if I can pull this up. Suno.ai, match music to images. Let's see if I can get this. I got some thing coming here. Basically, there we go. Let's see if this is the right piece. You can actually upload like a video or picture, and it will actually use that sort of visual interpretation of the content to create audio or music specifically for that. So incredible like innovation happening very quickly here with Suno. Believe it means, no, that is not it. It's Suno, meaning in Hindi. Listen, I already knew that answer. I have a Hindi wife, so I should know the answer to that. So I think this is a really worthwhile company to check out. And again, very quick creation of music. So I think you should be able to hear this. Talk about my mom's cottage where she
dancing stars under the sky, laughs that lift you up so high.
It was fun. We were visiting my family. We made some jokes and everything. Don't have much control with the lyrics, but what they've also now done is allowed you to re-edit some of these lyrics and populate it. So again, much more granular editing. And from my understanding, another component that they've added here has been you can actually highlight a specific area in a song that you've created and then generate a new sequence there. So maybe there's a guitar solo and you say, you know what, let's actually turn this into a drum solo. You have some more control mechanism. So I think we're so early in this piece here, and really you can do some pretty incredible things. And if I wanted to, I could go create me a boom bap, soulful, happy instrumental for freestyle rapping, and I can create, and you can see again the mechanism there. I can say, hey, I just want this to be an instrumental, so something pretty fascinating. What I'm seeing is it's also generating 2 versions. You can already see it coming back, and then there's even cover art generated. So let's check that out. Let's see if we got anything. Hear the soul, and you can see it actually rendering. And so basically, even people who are instrumentals and music, now all of a sudden, or the opposite, like I love to hip-hop, I love to do hip-hop, I love to freestyle, but I was always reliant on other people making beat. Now through prompt, I can basically create it. And again, yes, I think there's a lot of limitations in its current infrastructure, but this is going to come very quickly, just like a lot of the other pieces in AI that we're seeing here. And I expect this to be a huge way that we generate music moving forward, and just even content in general. So I think this is really underrated company. I would love to invest in this company. I think it's super compelling stuff and something that is definitely worthwhile following along, and a little bit more unique in the huge landscape of technology company that we're seeing here. Let me see if I can go like create me a beat. Sorry, I still don't know where this thing's beeping from. I've been trying to identify this for weeks, to be honest. I think it's LinkedIn or something. I can't tell. Create me an upbeat 90s boom bap. I'm going to get rid of the happy and the soulful for freestyle rapping. Let's see if I can get that to be a little closer to what I want. And again, you can see that character count gets eaten up pretty quickly, but you can still do a lot in those 200 characters. That's even labeled a title there, and looks like I was using V3 for some of the original ones, and now I'm into V. So the interesting thing about this is, like, how do they source all this music? Is there any accreditation to it? And one of the things that you see is you can't put an artist's name in the prompt. If you do that, then it will tell you did something wrong. So if I went Lady Gaga, it would say nah, and it wouldn't be happy. I'd say, oh papa, oh la la, I think it's time to go because I dropped the flow, and here we do. No, switching it up to beat. Interesting little transition. So lots of fun there, and worthwhile. And obviously you can create lyrics and everything too, and probably much better lyrics than me, and even captures the genre with the singer and everything. Switches between languages, language agnostic, really incredible stuff. So Suno, great, check it out. The other piece that's relatively new, I think, is just mind-blowing here, is this Anthropic company. I've talked about them for quite a while here now, but they brought in this new introduction of computer use. I haven't tested this out, but I've seen some of the videos flowing around on Twitter, and a lot of excitement about it. And basically what it looks like here is that it's a system or model trained specifically on interacting with computer screens. And what does that mean? That's a different sounding beep than I had before. I'm going to mute my screen desktop audio so you don't have to hear that. And the interesting piece here is, let's take a look at the video.
The researchers here at Anthropic and equipment company is scatter and find some more information there. Once it has this data, Claude's going to then fill out the form for us and hopefully transfer the information to my screen, and quickly realizes that the Ant equipment company isn't actually in the spreadsheet. So the first thing it does is it swaps over to a CRM and searches for the company we're interested in.
Music in the back. That might be Suno there. Although ambience.
Claude then fill out this form. Information across without.
So basically you can see it's using its reasoning abilities, and maybe that's realized there was a limitation in what it was doing, and then started to operate the browser there and even switch tabs and everything, and then in the end filled out some forms. And there are some questions, especially Anthropic really has been a company that talks a lot about alignment and things, and so there are some capabilities that I think people would love for it to have that it's like not letting it actually happen. But I think two sides of that, they'll slowly toggle this up as they move more towards alignment and let you do more things. Although again, web submissions and all this stuff opens up so much potential for abuse. But on the other side, we'll see other companies emerge, seeing the interest in this, who maybe don't have the same alignment regards that Anthropic has. So expect to see, we've seen a little demo of this with OpenAI monitoring the screen at all times. The interesting piece of this, or the discussion that's been generated from this, has been the idea of agentic behavior and companies dedicated solely to that. And really this question of, are these monolithic companies, these big companies, Anthropic, these models, really just taking over completely and eliminating the need for some of these agentic companies, whether horizontal agents or vertical agents there. And so lots of debate on that, but one of the theories that I've been looking at a little bit here. So super fascinating. Anthropic, if you're following AI, that name probably OpenAI and then Anthropic, toggling back and forth for the number 1 and 2 positions, especially if you look through the sort of startup landscape of companies that have emerged and really put together some incredible technology and actually growing, both with over $1 billion run rates on the business. I think still concerns and questions around what's the burn rate of these companies and all that, but the technical innovation and creation of these platforms and then the quick distribution is pretty damn insane. We'll continue to follow this, and there's theories Amazon's going to buy Anthropic, and there's some Microsoft OpenAI relationship souring, all of this stuff. Pretty crazy stuff, and people jumping back and forth between Anthropic and OpenAI pretty quickly as they just counter each other with these releases. A couple other things. I think I'm continuing to try to figure out my place in this world as someone who likes to create, and also really working on this motivation component, which I don't want to get too deep into, but finding that alignment on what's getting me excited and allowing me to create. And sometimes there's focus videos that I've been doing, but other times it's more free flowing like this, and hopefully some good comes out of it for me, and that translate to things that are interesting for you. And so one of the things I've been trying to think of is a couple things. First of all, video being a huge component of companies that are successfully marketing. And one of the things I'm really interested in is basically these faceless YouTube channels. Now, I'm not necessarily wanting to create one of these myself, but I obviously have Speak.ai, the company that I'm running, and then there is Tyler Bryden, the creator. And so I'm trying to figure out this distribution portal that is Shorts, YouTube Shorts, and then even LinkedIn. I don't know exactly the distribution on there, but what I'm seeing is some companies very nimbly who are bootstrapped using these sort of platforms to really boost up the business. And I'll share an example. Let's see if I can find one. This one sticks out to me here. Let's jump into it. Is Suno.ai. So Suno.ai, not sure if I've talked about this before, but basically they're using OpenAI and these platforms here, and it's your intelligent research assistant. A lot of this is marketed towards students, so there's some sort of piece there. Their founder has done a really great job documenting this process and also talking about how they use sort of TikTok to grow their presence. And you can see some big ones here, 4.1 million, and not all the most recent ones have that traction, but they're also working with influencers who are embedding it into the system and embedding it into their own sort of following and audience there. And the thing that they've used this format, which is this, you forgot you had a paper due. And so they've got that, that's the hook. Obviously, again, directed quite closely to school, but you can see POV, you have a 2,000 word essay due. You have forgot you had a paper due. You've got your last final, the one paper I forgot about. And so using that sort of fear, that urgency, that emergency as the hook. In the video, you can see this lady's got her eyes wide open. She forgot about her paper, and now she needs to do it. And obviously then this transitions into an ad for Suno.ai. And there you go, going back to sleep. So nothing too crazy. That would be a quick little video to create. But this is one of the strategies, and this has translated to, let's see if I can find a founder Twitter, stop beeping, whatever that is beeping. Here we go, David Park here. who documented this journey. And I believe they're at almost 10 million in revenue, 4 million users, 5 million ARR. And most people would be pretty happy with this type of growth. And they're doing a pretty incredible job on that. Yeah. So Churn, talking about that. Now, again, it's not always ideal, perfect things, but a really good case study. And so I'm examining this, trying to think, hey, how can we work this with Speak AI, our platform? And balancing, I think, between the what am I trying to say? The different possible growth channels here. One of them, a long time that I've relied on consistently, Google search. And for many reasons, some I've talked about before, but we're still doing well, 700, 800 clicks per day. Some of those good, converting to 100, 150, maybe 200 signups per day. At one point, so say 20,000 clicks per month on that website. At one point, we were at 60,000 and sometimes hitting 500, 600 signups per day. So definitely a drop there. And overall, what I'm seeing is a lot of people dropping in Google search, part maybe due to some algorithm changes where there was penalization happening, helpful content update, March 2024. But other ones just naturally, some specific types of searches have been reduced, and maybe people are relying on things like ChatGPT and things like that. And most likely those things aren't coming back. And a lot of us are getting accustomed to, hey, I want to ask a question and I want to get an answer. So why would I use Google, which is just surfacing a bunch of links for people who are trying to market to me? And often the top 5 things are just ads anyway. So I definitely think there's some questions about the sustainability of Google search. And so you need to look to other channels. And I've got what we use as a system called Apollo. Someone signs up for Speak, it flows that it goes into Intercom. If sort of someone signs up, they say, hey, here's who I am. This is why I'm onboarding, goal, everything there, sends to Apollo. And then we enrich that information so I can find phone numbers and who they are and more about their company and everything there. And so I can sit down here for several hours and make phone calls to these people. And in some cases, I can literally find their mobile number and give them a call. What does that translate to? A lot of times it translates to me leaving voicemails because people aren't picking up their phones. Sometimes I get contacted with people and they're very dismissive because no one really wants to get called on their personal phone. And they are like, how did you get this number? So I definitely see a little bit of pushback there. But I've also had some good interactions too, where either feedback or it's led to another conversation and stuff. For example, trying to figure out some of this distribution on TikTok and YouTube, which again, I have questions about the actual audience itself there, but the sort of opportunity for serendipity or discovery is pretty large. And so I've done some very early testing. I've had some okay success with Tyler Bryden specifically on TikTok. And then I had a really not a crappy video, but an unoptimized video for Speak that then turned into some YouTube videos using this system, Opus Pro. 270 views, 19 now. Do I think any of those are converting? Probably not. There weren't good videos and it wasn't a good base asset there. Let me see if I can get logged in and show you what this platform looks like here. Basically, yeah, there we go. You can drop in a link and then it will create a project for you here. It looks like there's some technical issue there, and then creates the caption, creates the title, creates the actual final post. You can see there. And then you can hook in all your platforms. It's pretty interesting. I'm actually a fan of the system now. I think there's other pieces that would be nicer, like more control over the editing and the transcript and things like that. But overall, pretty powerful little platform. And they've released a little bit of I watched a YouTube video from the actual creator of it. I think they raised a bunch of money, but that's the idea. And one of the challenges is like, what I'm trying to figure out now is how can I create a video that's both horizontal and vertical at the same time? And so generally you see when I'm creating a video, I'm usually over on the left side, but what's interesting now is I'm centered. And if I'm centered, and most generally the content is centered, if I'm reading an article or whatever it is, you can see here, like I can now turn this into a vertical video while maintaining some of the integrity of the of the actual aspect ratio, where in this case, because I was pinned over in the corner, I'm there, but all the other stuff is cut off. And obviously that's not ideal. So I think where it comes back to, one of the things I'm spending a lot of time on here right now, which is not a good thing, is where is the highest impact of time? You have so many options, so many opportunities in this world and life. And if you have whatever, how many minutes in a day, you sleep for blah, 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 you can really ask yourself, am I doing the most impactful thing? And then what is the impactful thing driving you towards? Is it personal goals, professional goals? When you're a founder and owner of a company, that sort of changes things a little bit too. And generally in a business environment, you're always trying to see the business grow. So obviously something I'm paying attention to and considering. But then I have questions on my own self about like why sometimes I don't feel the urgency that I think is required. And there was a little Twitter exchange that I was actually taking a look at here that I found really intriguing, where basically it was like, hey, why are you building a company? It's to try to make like a positive impact in the world. That's what some people say. I actually was interested in the core problem about analyzing unstructured data, but what I pushed back and said, no, you need to win. And so that's a really interesting thing, because I was a hockey player at one point. My competitiveness was pretty strong, and it kicked in during the last year of my career. We actually won a championship that year, and I think part of it was I knew it was coming to an end, and so it really put that competitive edge into overdrive. Whereas in business, I haven't felt some of that same competitiveness. I've seen competitors in the market that I, in some ways, admire, in some ways learn from, but in the end, you have to beat them and you have to compete. And so that's something that I'm trying to internalize a little bit more. And I think is an important lesson if you're running a company, that, yeah, you can just go into the market and you can try to make a good product and make that positive impact. But if you're not trying to win, generally the other ones are, and they will degrade your market penetration over time. And we've just seen that with even late entrants into our space. I'll just call out one specifically, like the AI meeting assistant, where ones who have started much more recently and raised a bunch of money, hired a bunch of people, and really put that sort of flywheel in place to hit growth that we didn't. In some cases, we're not sure where this is going to end up in the end. Is it profitable? All this venture funding that they've raised, will that actually work out for them? These are questions that we don't have the answers to in this exact moment, but at a core level, the growth that they've achieved through that technique or that mechanism is pretty impressive and powerful, especially considering how long we've been building the platform and how short of a time they have. Also, looking at my own personal sort of channel, I talk about this quite a bit, so sorry if it bores you and annoys you. And I've got my videos I've been creating, some which I've done well, some I don't. I find consistent creation, YouTube really does reward that. Got way too many tabs open here. Get out of here. You can see some videos, a reaction video on a topic that's new and fresh. I've talked about this idea before. Find something trending, new, not a lot of content created on it, create a video on that, get it out as quick as you can. Not 600 views, that's nice. They did a couple with songs, J. Cole, Tyler, the Creator. Those ones really don't seem to hit, and it seems that maybe Google is bucketing me in this sort of AI tech where I've seen more success. And then on that piece, I've now also seen this interesting piece with posting videos around music with the partially blocked. I was always wondering how people are doing that. It was so scary, but what you realize is that you're allowed to post, it's just not going to be distributed. And in the last 28 days, more views, less watch time, 1 subscriber, so not really much going on. I made $9. That's to my wife that it's not covering my Gmail professional email that this count is linked to. I can't switch my email, so I'm stuck in the negative on that, all things considering there. And other things, I'm looking at view duration, so how much of a video are people watching? So the shorts, these were horrible shorts, but the duration there, much higher. And even on a video like this, unless you're really invested in me, you're probably not going to watch that whole video. And so trying to shift that mentality of, hey, here's a video I'm interested in versus what other people are interested in, trying to pair that with inspiration, all that great stuff, and really trying to figure all that stuff out. I will say the thumbnail, the AI generation definitely does seem to have a bit of an impact, or at least in these decent click-through on it. And obviously the Elon event there with Optimus, you've got Tyler, the Creator, you've got the J. Cole screenshot, which if you watched the video originally and then we're looking for reactions, probably connect with that pretty quickly. So what else do we got here? I've been recording, 30 minutes already. I'll share a little concept with you. see what you think. So I've got this AI React too. And so what I'm trying to think is how I can piece this together. Where basically I'm creating a focus group and I'm actually talking to AIs. And I've got the top models here and really trying to put it almost like in like an impractical Joker-like situation where I'm talking to these AIs. They can see the answers of each other and go through that mechanism and see how they're responding to questions or even something. Maybe I show them a video and hear what their responses are. I'm questioning, am I doing this because I'm lonely? I actually think it's really interesting content. And I think you could run a parallel stream where you see what they responded to if they didn't hear the answer from one of the other AI. So this is something in real focus groups where being in a room with other people, you put on a bit of a performance and change your answers. Does the AI do that as well too? And so you're feeding the answers back and you're putting it into this conversational interface. So I'd have to build something to do this. Thought it would be really interesting. And as the technology progresses, you could have them as real avatars and real text-to-speech voices and really make these interactive, fascinating videos. And one of the things that this came off of was actually this thesis around reaction videos, which people want to see how people are reacting to things that they're interested into, trying to validate themselves and understand themselves. And I said, that's something that always seems like it will be around because we want to see real humans. I was really bullish on that idea. And then I said, how can I flip this? And I thought, okay, maybe we actually want to see how AIs react. And even different models would obviously react different. So I think there is something interesting and compelling around this that I will explore at one point. I don't know when I'm zoomed in here. It's probably a little better for you. Maybe I'm zoomed in a little too much here now. Another couple things I'm super interested in here right now. I talked about this a bit before, Bloomberg boy, but I've got my FinViz and let's take a look at the markets today. They're looking okay. I think all of us are trying to achieve some sort of financial independence in the world that we're in today. And there's a lot of questions around where AI is taking us and what does this mean for the world and jobs and all this. So things might change really quickly. And so building up some net worth and assets seems highly important, and also just navigating the AI that's coming. So I've been dual working on two things. One, which is, this is more, maybe there's some content around here, but actually an in-person event. I originally wanted to do it in November and then I got a little nervous about that, but how to prepare for an AI-dominated future. And I'm not going to go through this whole presentation because you're going to churn on me because it's very early as well too, but basically trying to answer a couple sort of questions around why does this matter if the AI-dominated future? How do we know this is going to happen? How fast will it come? What will it look like? And then how can I prepare? And I think this can be split into both personal and professional perspectives on this. And I think is obviously like an important thing. So tying together FIRE series and then navigating through the technological landscape that's taking place. I have had some thoughts on AI and all of this stuff will continue. I was actually recently on a panel where I got to present some ideas on this, which was a lot of fun. And the first time I've been asked to get up in person in a while. I used to do a lot of that. And then I thought this was a really interesting tweet. Let's see if I can find the original tweet, which is basically VC is UBI for Silicon Valley. So let's see. Can't find the tweet itself, but really fascinating thing where basically you raise money and you can just hang out. And now obviously that's an exaggeration and simplification of it, but you're able to build things and work without expectations of building a sustainable business, especially in the early innings of that company or of that build out. And I just thought that was a really fascinating concept and discussion that took place, and something I'm thinking about a lot as we continue to build Speak, relatively bootstrapped, a little bit of money. We had a convertible note that we did with Techstar or standard terms. We extended that 1 year because we didn't have a fundraise, in that time. And then what would it mean to fundraise? What would it mean to not fundraise and paying that back if we don't fundraise? A lot of things in there. And I know I'm going a mile a minute. I'm processing this stuff along with you. I have no idea if you're enjoying this or not, but if you are, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, give me a subscribe. And besides that, just continuing to navigate through a very highly unpredictable, volatile world, especially with election coming up in the US. A lot of discussion on that, tariffs and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to weigh too much on this, but pretty wild. We're less than, I think, 2 weeks away here. Probably not going to know the results right away. Seems like that's scaring people a bit. And then seems like there will be quite a bit of, what's the word, like deviation in the simulation, depending on which way we go. And even like a little bit of a battle of the billionaires right now. You got Cuban versus Elon and all this stuff going on. So I could get on Twitter, I could go down the rabbit hole, but I think I'll avoid that for now. And I'll end this video. Hope you got something good out of this. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.